Hello and welcome to Quantum IAS. This is the first video of Advanced Batch UPSC CSE 2021, and we are going to start with the quantum mechanics, right? And this is the first part of the video regarding the quantum mechanics. Now, this is the syllabus that we are going to cover. This is the complete syllabus of the UPSC, and we're going to see them briefly, right? Also, the PDF of these notes will be available in your dashboard. So the first one is about the wave particle duality, right? So basically, it is a basic idea in quantum mechanics about which almost all of the concept of quantum mechanics revolve, right? It simply state that we cannot say that a particle will not have any wave characteristics or a wave will not have any particle characteristics. So it's a mix of both, right? So if we have an object, if we have to describe a body, it can behave as both particle as well as wave, right? So you can see that the wave particle duality is the concept in quantum mechanics that every particle or quantum entity may be described as either wave or a particle, right? Now, first of all, we need to understand about the photon. So photon is the quanta of light, right? All of you know that. So if we have light, it is made up of small quanta, that is photon, and each photon have a momentum that is equals to h by lambda and frequency that is sc by lambda or h nu, right? And these are quantized. Okay. Also, it travels with the speed of light, and its energy depends upon frequency. That means if you are changing the medium, then the frequency will not change, the energy will not change, right? Rest mass is zero. That means either you will get photon at a traveling at a speed of light, or you will not get any photon, right? So you will not get any photon at rest. That means photon at rest is not defined. Okay. This is the radiant pressure. So considering photon as corpuscles, right? They are small elastic particles that are bombarding on any surface. Let's say it is a surface, and electron are coming, hitting, and going back, right? So there can be two possibilities. One, either they can reflect or they can absorb, right? Or both of them can happen. So A plus R is equals to 1, that we are considering here, that either they are reflecting back or they are absorbed. So A is the coefficient of absorption and R is the coefficient of reflection. So here A equals to what? 1 minus R. So corresponding the formula is something like this, and it's equals to I upon C 1 plus R, right? Where I is the intensity, and intensity is basically proportional to the number of photons. Right? See, these are the basic properties of the photon. Now, we as we know that photon can light can be either wave or particle nature. It has dual nature. So in the same way, de Broglie in his 1924 PhD thesis, right, proposed that we know that light is wave, so that electron will have the same property, right? Electron will also show the diffraction, right? So this is what we know as matter wave, right? That every particle will have some wave-like characteristics, right? And the de Broglie has given that lambda is equals to h by p, that is momentum, or h by mv. See, here p cannot be distinguishing between m into v. We cannot dissociate this momentum into mass into velocity of the photon, but here we can dissociate, right? So p will be h cross k, right? K is, you know, that propagation constant. It is in the direction of wave propagation, and particle motion is same direction, right? This is what it's meaning. Now, if you apply this on macroscopic level, you will find that lambda is of very small range, right? So lambda is so small that you will not able to detect that. That's why in real life, when we see uh, the object like ball or say car, we are not able to find out the wavelength associated with it because it's very less. But when we go into the microscopic level, right? So in microscopic level, in electron level, it starts showing some result, right? Now again, here will be, I'm summarizing, I have summarized some of the formulae that you need to learn about this wave particle duality. First is the irrelativistic case, right? Irrelativistic case when velocity of the particle is much less than c, right? In that, lambda will be what? Mv, and E is equals to what? P square by 2m. So P will be root under 2me, right? That's what I have written here. So E is the kinetic energy. E here is the kinetic energy. Okay. Here, this is lambda of electron is given and EV is given. We know that, let's say if we have a potential of delta V, right? And electron is here, the change in kinetic energy will be E into V, the potential energy, right? So delta K will be minus delta U, something like that. So that's why we have written EV. Okay. Now, if you come into the relativistic domain, right, where V is comparable to the speed of light, so then we have to take the relativistic energy, and when you put these things, you will get this relation, right? This is the calculator relation. You just need to write the energy equation, and then after that, you can write this one. That will be sufficient. Next, we are having thermal neutrons, right? The thermal neutrons, KT is something like 0.026 eV at room temperature, 300 Kelvin, right? Where T is the absolute temperature, that is in Kelvin. K is the Boltzmann constant. So if you put here, you will get the answer. So these types of question UPSC asked in earlier days also, right? So you need to be quick while solving these questions, right? So that you will not waste a single minute in these types of questions. Now, I have written some of the facts, figures, or some of the observations, right? Some of the properties to conclude in your answer, right? Some what happens recently, they have given that lambda is equals to what? H by mv. So prove that m is equals to h by lambda v, right? This was asked in 2019 or 20, I guess, right? So in these types of question gets solved in 2 to 3 lines. So what you will write? So these are the things you should write. So first one is the principle of complementarity by Neil Bohr. So either it can have matter or it can have the wave characteristic, not both, right? So this was the principle of complementarity by Neil Bohr, right? This is the exact statement that is given by de Broglie, right? He got Nobel Prize also in 1929 for his hypothesis, right? Before 1929, it got verified by division and German experiment also, right? So in 1925, he hypothesized this, and in 1929, he got the Nobel Prize. So he wrote, the basic idea of quantum theory is that, of course, the impossibility of considering an isolated fragment of energy without assigning a certain frequency to it, right? So it is saying that if a particle is having energy, certainly we have to associate some frequency with it, no matter whether it is small or big, but we have to associate with it, right? One more thing, that not only tiny particles, even C60 molecule shows diffraction, right? It's a huge molecule, heavy molecule, but it still shows diffraction. That also confirms that the de Broglie hypothesis, right? Even the Max Born uses his probability interpretation to describe some quantum mechanical system, and that is based on the de Broglie hypothesis. We will see that, right? We know also that the Max Born probability interpretation, right? Now, one more thing. When wavelength approaches to zero, the wave life property disappear, right? We know that when lambda approaches to zero, the wavelength property diminishes, right? So the wave will associated with behave as a ray, right? So you have ray optics and wave optics, right? So these two dimensions are related to this one also only, right? When lambda is comparable to the obstacle, we will study in the wave optics, we will see the diffraction pattern, all these things. When it is not, when wavelength approaches to zero, is very small than the obstacle, then it will behave as a ray, right? Ray means that it will follow the rectilinear propagation of light, it will not bend, right? And when it is not behaving like a ray, it will bend and it will show diffraction. That it means basically. Now, some of the evidence from particle nature, that is photoelectric effect and Compton effect. Compton effect, right? You can, you have studied these in your junior classes also, I guess, right? So Einstein equation, photoelectric effect, the energy, momentum conservation, Compton effect. I guess you know these things. Also, wave particle duality also enables us to find out the principle of superposition also applies to matter also, because matter is behaving as a wave, matter wave, right? And we will see that uh, if you have a free particle, right, that will be the superposition of multiple wave. Polychromatic will be nature, that we will see now, right? So it helps us to apply that also, right? Now, Davisson and German experiment, you should note that Davisson and German, even in Thomas, both have done the same kind of experiment, and they have sent electron beam diffraction under atomic crystal, right? So they have taken atomic array of crystal, that is a lattice will be there, right? Planes will be there, and they have diffracted the electron from there, right? So remember this thing, Davisson and German has done this. Also, Thomas has done this, right? So if you are writing Davisson and German experiment in your answer, you can enrich with writing about the Thomas also, right? So what was that? Uh, a very beautiful line written in S.C. Master book, right? That Brahma has written Nobel Prize for them. That's why they have done those things, because it was an accidental, right? They were trying to perform certain different experiment, and accidentally what happened? It got nickel got oxidized, and what they had to do, they have to heat that to deoxidize that, right? So by accident, the target got oxidized, the nickel block was removed and back at high temperature, right? And that crystallized the uh, uh, element that we have taken, right? And it shows diffraction, right? Provided they are scattered elastically, that we are considering it, right? Now, what happened? This verified the de Broglie hypothesis. And also, electron diffraction is used in transmission electron microscopy. So see, these small things you can use in the conclusion itself, right? So basically, what happened? Davisson German experiment. They used nickel crystal, right? They diffracted the electron that was scattered elastically, right? And that shows diffraction. And diffraction is the property of a wave nature. So that, from there we concluded that electron have wave nature also, right? So this is Davisson and German experiment, all the things. So let us quickly see one by one. So this is about the Bragg's law. This is the change in position or change in part difference that you say. And for maxima, it is part difference is what? N lambda, that is 2d sine theta equals to n lambda. Delta x you can also write, sometimes delta x, both works fine. Now, what was the setup? See, so here we were having incident beam, here we are having the crystal, and it was scattered here. And here we are having the movable electron detector. Try to make schematic diagram in the examination, right? That solve the purpose and as well as save your time, right? Do not go very hi-fi diagram, that is not needed. So what happened here, when we incident electron of 54 volt, so at 50-degree angle, they are scattered at multiple angles. First, you need to see this. They have scattered at the multiple angle, but the intensity at 50-degree angle was the most, right? So if you can see that here, they have scattered at all the angles, right? A very range of angles, right? But at the 50-degree, the intensity was the maximum, and that shows the complete diffraction pattern, right? And from there, we assumed, and from there we concluded that electron is showing diffraction, and diffraction is the property of the wave. So electron have wave nature. Some calculation you can see there. I have tried to put it here. So theoretically, what was happened? Lambda T theoretically, that is H by P, that's our formula. E was 54 electron volt that we have given. So if you put this, the theoretical value comes out to 0.166 nanometer. And when experimentally we do this thing, that is lambda is what? 2d sine theta. Remember, delta x barabar 2d sine theta, that is equals to n lambda. So we are uh, putting n is equals to 1 for the first order, right? So here, this is theta, this is theta, this is phi. So phi will be what? 180 degree minus 2 theta by 2, right? So this is what we got. So if you put this value here, value of D has to be given. It was given, right? We know that. From the arrangement of lattice, we know that D is equals to 0.091. So if you put that, it will be like 0.165 nanometer. So you can see this 0.165 nanometer and 0.16 nanometer, both are almost same, right? So it theoretical as well experimental verification helped. Okay, so this was your first topic. If you see here, wave particle duality is your first topic, then Schrodinger equation and expectation value. So we are covering expectation value here. So expectation value is basically the probabilistic expected value of the result, right? So let's say if you have a dice like this, right? And if you're playing Ludo, and if you start rolling that dice, so what happened? Let's say 4 came 8 times, 3 came 4 times, right? So different numbers will come different time. So the probability, expected probability of getting an outcome, that is the expectation value, right? That you can say. And now expectation value for the continuous function can be given as this, and for discrete can be given as this one. Okay, I guess you know these things. We're just revising the thing stuff. Uncertainty, change, error in x can be defined as this formula, right? This is the expectation value of x square, and this is the expectation value, sorry, square of the value of x. Standard formula that you need to learn in this course, and you have to use it multiple times, right? Try to learn this. You can also prove it, right? You can also prove this. So if you have delta px, that is what? Uncertainty in the position of, sorry, in momentum in x direction, right? Delta is basically change, and change here, we are more interested in the uncertainty. Uncertainty simply means error, right? Simply means error. So uncertainty principle. So before uncertainty principle, try to understand one thing, the conjugate variable. See, I have written the standard definitions also, right? So you need to mug up these or try to make your own definition, right? Your definition is best definition. Your notes is best note, not mine, right? So what you have to do, you have to make your own notes using these things, right? Try to add whatever you like to add, and try to discard whatever you want to discard, right? So what, when you internalize your concept, internalize all the things, then that will be helpful. Okay. So canonical conjugates are those who follows this relationship. If you uncertainty in one will rise, the uncertainty in the other will be decreasing, right? And uncertainty principle will be given for the canonical conjugate also, right? And it is impossible to devise an experiment that can measure simultaneously two complementary variables to arbitrary accuracy. That is what we are trying to say. If two functions are complementary to each other, right, or conjugate to each other, we cannot find both of them to a extent of the accuracy, right? So same thing is explained over here also, right? So uncertainty principle is inherent in its property all wave-like system, right? If we not consider the wave associated with the matter, right, then uncertainty principle will have no effect, right? For example, if we have an object, right, and if we considering it as a particle, right, and if it is moving with v equals to constant velocity, so it will have constant momentum and constant energy. So if it will have constant momentum, and according to the Heisenberg's principle, delta x delta px h cross by 2, if you put it, delta x will tends to infinity, right? So for applying the uncertainty principle, you have to apply the microwave, right? Now the, again, not really applicable to the macroscopic scale because the wavelength tends to 0 there, right? Okay, one more thing, the uncertainty principle is the fundamental property of the quantum system, is not the statement about the observational of the current technology, right? So it basically emphasizes only on the processes that we are taking, right? Not on the interaction, right? So it doesn't depend upon the observer. Whoever the observer is, it will remain same, right? Okay, you can, yes. It also helps to make the prediction of only of the probable behavior of the particle. We will see the application, right? So this is these are the some of the things that you can write about the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The idea is very simple, right? The first one you should do. Okay. Now, three relationship that we have to study. First one is the position momentum relationship, right? Delta x into delta px equals to greater than or equal to h cross by 2. Remember, if it is x, it is px, right? Now, if you see for a Gaussian wave function, we know that delta h and delta k is half, right? And it comes from the superposition of wave. If you put the waves and superimpose, you will get this condition, right? More accurately, it is equals to greater than half. And k is what? 2 pi by delta lambda. We know this thing. That is 2 pi by delta px by h. If you put this thing, you will end up this. And what this is what we got here, right? So you can use these facts, right? You can use these identities directly to show these things. Here you can understand when delta x is very large, small, only one wavelength will be there, right? It is monochromatic, right? Why? Delta x tends to infinity, right? Here it will be of several wavelengths, right? Medium delta p, right? Here is small delta p. Larger the delta p, wave packet will be consisting of lot of waves, right? This is what it means. Again, energy time relationship. So if you have multiple superposition of wave, then the frequency will be greater than the time period here, right? Change in time period. So if you put it, you will get the result. Again, I guess these are the very basic thing. I guess all of you know this thing. Angular position and angular momentum relationship, same as the position momentum, just what we have done. Whatever is written in this font, this is exactly copy pasted, and I you should just go through it, right? They are not very important, just for the sake of giving you a reference, right? So let's say this is very good reference. So in Heisenberg, in his paper, what he has given, that we talk about uh, what is the position, right? So he said, you want to find the position, you want to calculate the position, show me the system that can find the position accurately, right? So if one wants to be clear about what is mean by the position of an object, for example, of an electron, then one has to specify defined experiment by which the position of electron can be measured. Otherwise, this term has no meaning at all. So if you are saying that position, we have uncertain position, this, that, but if you're saying we are going to measure the position, we are going to find out the error in the position, then you should have a proper way to define what is the position and how will you measure that, right? That was a very interesting quote by Heisenberg. See, you can write these things, right? If you have time. Now, experimental verification of uh, Heisenberg uncertainty principle was through single slit electron diffraction and gamma ray diffraction. Single slit electron diffraction and gamma ray diffraction. So for this single slit, just try to understand, we are having a single slit over here and electron beam are coming and it got diffracted at theta, right? This is 2 theta is the width of the central maxima. We know from our optics classes, right? So what is be the first order delta y sin theta will be lambda. So p here, p goes out. So what is delta py? P sin theta. Initial py is what? 0. Final py is p sin theta. So we put it delta p into t by it will was greater than h plus by 2. Right. So it shows, right? It shows that electron is diffracting, right? If it was not diffracting, it will have we will have a, if it will not diffract, if it will go linearly, rectilinear, we will have only one spot, that is the complete uh, what do you say, a complete light will be there, right? There will be no diffraction pattern will be there. There will be no blurriness will be there, right? But it was not that. We are getting a maxima here and then minima and then a lower, a very small intensity of maxima, right? And also what we have done, if you narrow this rate, the greater will be the width of the central maxima, right? So when we know that lambda when is comparable with the uh, obstacle width, it shows us the diffraction pattern, right? We know it from our waves and optics classes. What happened when you narrow the slit, the diffraction will increase and the width of will increase, right? So you can say that if we increase the slit, it will increase the position uncertainty, right? That what is showing. If you increase the slit, it will increase the position uncertainty, and if you decrease the position uncertainty by narrowing the slit, the diffraction pattern broaden corresponds to momentum uncertainty increases, right? So if you decrease delta y, delta py will increase. That's what it tried to say, right? The next verification was gamma ray microscope. So what happened in gamma ray microscope, this is our microscope, although it's not looking like that, but it is our microscope. So this electron is going over the microscope, right? And let's say this is the delta x. This is the position that we want to uh, measure, right? So it is basically used to measure the position of the electron, right? But what happened when we measure anything, we are restricted with the error or the resolution of our instrument, whether it is scale or microscope. We are limited with the measuring capacity of that instrument, right? So we are trying to measure the position, but what we are getting delta x, that is the limit of resolution, right? This is in the range that will be giving, right? Then what will be px? So if let's say it is coming like this and going like this, making angle 2 theta with the microscope, then the delta px will be what? 2h by lambda sine theta, simply. Delta px into x will be what? H cross by 2. So it is also confirming or showing the result of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? So this was uncertainty principle. Okay. Now next one is the application of uncertainty principle, right? How many applications are there? So there are 5 applications. There are basically 5 applications of uncertainty principle. The first one, we can find out the natural width of spectral line, right? What is natural width of spectral line? So the spectral line, when a electron goes to the excited state and it come down, what will the width of the spectral line that it will going to, right? The polychromatic waves it will give. So what will be the width or the range of that, right? So we can put it here. So we know that at ground state it remained for the larger amount of time, let's say infinite, and in the excited state it will living at 10 power minus 8 seconds. So using the uncertainty relationship, if you put it here, you will get energy is equals to h cross by 2 t, and E is what? H into delta mu. So delta mu will be what? 1 upon 4 pi delta t. So if you put the delta t here, right, you will get the spectral width. 1 by 4 pi is constant, delta t you know, 10 power minus 8, so it will become 10 power 8 upon 4 pi, right? So this is the spectral width that we will get. And it is also showing that spectral width, it is what? 4 pi delta t, and it is basically discrete in nature, right? It is discrete in nature, not continuous. Only a specific value will be there, and it is polychromatic nature. Multiple wavelength will be there, not of the single frequency or wavelength, right? Next application is electron cannot reside inside the nucleus, and proton always reside inside the nucleus. Even neutron also, you can add here, neutron also reside. And what is the requirement for that? So let's see, this is the range of the nucleus, 10 to the power minus 15 meter. So the uncertainty will be around this only, maximum uncertainty. So delta px will be this. So E minimum is what? 100 mega electron volt. See, R is this. This can be the delta X maximum. Maximum, it can have this error, right? Let's say if this is, So it can be anywhere between them. So maximum energy will be what? Of this range, 10 to the minus 15. So the minimum P will be what? This much. If you find out the minimum energy from this minimum momentum, you will get 100 megaelectron volt. That is 100 megaelectron volt is the minimum energy to get inside the nucleus, right? So if a free particle is having more than that energy, it will reside inside the nucleus. And if a free particle is having less than energy, it will not reside. And we know that the electron having 4 to 6 mega electron volt energy in the beta decay, right? The maximum energy is this. In the beta decay, it can have only 4 to 6 mega electron, which is much less than the minimum energy required to stay inside the nucleus. One more thing, beta decay, somewhere it is given 2 to 3 mega electron volt, somewhere it is given 3 to 4, somewhere 4 to 6, somewhere 5 to 6, right? Don't worry about that. It is a very few, less than 10 mega electron volt will have the same effect. Okay. Again, proton rest mass energy is much less greater than the E minimum required to be inside the nucleus. So even the proton is at rest inside the nucleus, it will reside there because the minimum energy what is needed, it has got more than that. Even if you want to add neutron here, you can neutron rest mass slightly higher than this, and put it. Third one is the minimum energy of oscillating system or 0 point energy. See, oscillating system here that we're talking about is quantum mechanical in nature, not mechanical or classical. It is quantum mechanical. For example, if you have a solid, right? So the atom is here. This atom is basically oscillate about the complete position, right? This is what happened. So we know that K equals to m omega square. This is our energy, right? So if you put it here, energy will be something like this, right? So delta x is equals to 2x that we are taking. Delta px will be this one. If you put it, and for the E minimum, what we will do? You will differentiate it and then double differentiate it and take it less than 0. You know that how to find the minima, right? So we will find E minima at this position. If you put here, you will get H cross omega by 2, right? So this is the minimum energy that an oscillator in quantum mechanical system have. It cannot have zero energy. For example, if in classical mechanics, if you study, it can have zero energy, but in quantum mechanical system, it will not have zero energy. That is what it means. Next one is Yukawa-Mason theory, and basically it is the prediction of mass of meson, right? Let's see for the interaction, right? The meson interaction you will study in the nuclear physics. We will be covering in the nuclear physics revision class, right? But here just understand, if we have two nucleons, the range between them is what? 10 to the minus 15 meter. You know this thing. So delta E into delta T is what? H cross by 2. So delta T will be what? R by C. Right? Speed of light, it can maximum it can have this one only. So from here, delta E is what? M pi C square. M pi is the mass of the meson. So M pi, if you put it here and calculate it is about 0.75 10 to the minus 27 kg. So from our experiment, from our theory, sorry, not experiment, theory prediction, it is greater than that. And in theory, it is almost equal to 10 to the minus 28 kg, right? So it is near about that. So we can say that this is one of the application of uncertainty principle. Again, you can predict the ground state of hydrogen atom, just like we have taken the energy of oscillating system, right? Same here, delta R PR will be H cross, right? ER you have maintained. You can find out the E minimum. It will come at R equals to R naught, right? This is, you know, that ground state radius function. If you put it here, you will get the E minimum, right? So minimum energy will be not zero here, right? It will be minus 10.6 electron volt, right? So it is for hydrogen-like atom. If you put Z square by N, it will give the hydrogen-like atom. So it's up to you how you are writing these things. Okay. So we have two things: de Broglie hypothesis. We have wave particle duality, right? So all these things are saying that if you have a matter, it can be described as a wave also. It will have wave characteristic also. So if it have a wave, so how will we define it? So it will be represented by psi. Psi again, it's a representative thing. It doesn't mean you cannot represent it with the phi or theta. You can represent it, right? But the most common is psi. And something is given that the psi is called wave function here. What we have called the psi is called wave function here, right? The wave associated with the moving particle is called matter wave, right? According to de Broglie, we know this thing. Again, one more thing is important: the probability density. It can be from 0 to 1, right? So if at a given point of time in a space, we can find out the probability of getting that thing. And if you search all the space, then the probability should be equals to 1. That it what means, right? And wave function is basically mathematical description of the particle function of momentum, time, position, and spin. We will see that, right? Basically, position, time, and spin, it correctly show that. Now, let me ask you one thing. When we say wave, we say disturbance in the medium. When matter wave is there, what is disturbed here? What is oscillating here, right? So here I have written or not. You can add this thing, right? So in matter wave, the state is changing. The state is oscillating, right? So if you measure one state, it will quickly turn to another state, right? So the state is going to be disturbed from our measurement, right? Okay, that next thing. This is how we represent a matter wave, right? This is the stationary state, the position, spatial, and this is the temporal component. Matter wave with, okay, no, not spin. Wait a minute. Temporal component it is, not a spin. This is matter wave with spin. Right? This is, see, most of the thing is hand drawn, hand written by me, and some of the thing is also copy pasted. I'm not denying that, and some of the things are also typed. Like these things are typed, right? Some things are, so whatever I find convenient, I have done that. This is the probability density function, right? Psi into psi star x. Psi star is basically what? Complex conjugate of psi x. This is the expectation value that we have already studied, right? It is something like that. Now, what are the properties and characteristics of matter wave function, right? Or the wave function simply, right? See, it is represented by a complex number first. It represents the state. What is state? That means it contains all the information that you need to extract about from the system, right? So this is complex number, represent the state. It is finite everywhere, self-explanatory, right? Finite, you know, it cannot be infinite. Square integrable, right? If you square it and integrate it, it should be having a finite value. It should not have any infinite value, right? We will see this in few minutes, right? What does it mean, right? And we will modify our wave equation so that it should be become square integrable, right? I'll show you. Orthogonal projection over it will give 1, projection over the another basis will give 0. That's what it means. Normalized, the probability of getting that will be 1 equals to 1. That is basically the normalized meaning, I guess. You know these things. Even if you have studied a basic of quantum mechanics, you are familiar with these things. Continuous everywhere, again self-explanatory. No jump, nothing. Complete, that it can be written as the sum of the other states also, right? So the complete wave function can be written as the sum of the states also. So these are the properties of the matter wave, right? Okay. Now let's come to the wave packet ends velocity. So it was our query that, okay, it's a wave, then is it a monochromatic wave or a polychromatic wave, right? So that we need to address here. So we can conclude that it is a polychromatic wave, and we will show it, we will prove it also, right? So first you need to identify what is phase and group velocity, right? So phase velocity I have written there. So the monochromatic wave that travels is phase velocity, and when different monochromatic wave come together to form a group of wave, and when they travel in a medium, that is called the group velocity, right? So here you can take a differentiation, right? So go through these, right? So go through these. These are very easy. I have also studied in waves and optics, so we are not going into this. Now let us take the irrelativistic case first, right? So let's take the irrelativistic case. So for irrelativistic case, and if the wave is monochromatic, then what? The phase velocity will be equal to the group velocity, right? So we can say that Vp, phase velocity, is defined as what? Omega by k. If you multiply h cross, it will become energy by momentum. What is energy here? Half mv square, and mv irrelativistic case, it will become v by 2. So Vp is equals to what? V by 2. This is not the speed of the particle. Particle is traveling with v, and if its wave is traveling with v by 2, it will lag behind. So at the same time, it will not be having both, right? That you should know. Okay. So in irrelativistic case, it will not monochromatic. Will it be multichromatic? Sorry, polychromatic? Yes. If you find the group velocity, you will get it is equals to v, and that's confirmed that it propagate with group velocity, and it travels as a wave packet, not a monochromatic wave, right? This is traveling with v. You can make traveling with v. Now come to the irrelativistic case. Sorry, relativistic case. Again, if you use phase velocity h omega by h k e by p m c square by mv, it will come c square by v greater than c. It cannot be possible, right? And nothing can travel more than the speed of light. So again, here also we have proved that it is traveling as a wave group, right? Only the group velocity is equals to the particle velocity. This is important. Okay. So after this, let's come to a very, very interesting and important wave function, wave packet, whatever you want to say. That is the Gaussian wave function, right? And you need to learn these equations. This is a basically normalized Gaussian equation, normal or Gaussian wave function, it is called, right? Where A is delta x, standard deviation, right? You have studied in your junior classes, 19th also. X is expectation value or the mean value, right? So this is the complete stationary state of the wave function, Gaussian wave function, right? If you draw the real part of the wave function, it will be something like this, right? And if you draw the probability, it will be something like this. X naught is the expectation value where it will be maximum, right? This is the basic about the Gaussian wave function. Again, I have written these are the application of Gaussian function, right? For example, in fluorescence microscopic, right, used to approximate the airy disk, right? So these are important, right? In geostatics, they have used, right, complex tuning in statistics, they are using, in thermodynamics they are using, right? It is having a multiple uses, multiple. What do you need to do? Go through it, find out one or two that you will be writing in the examination, right? I have given all of them, right? And just go through once and just cut it. Okay, this is not we are going to write the exam. This is not we are going to write in the exam. This is not I'm going to write in the exam, right? So do it for that. Okay. Now, okay. So these are the definitions. Gaussian functions are often used to represent should I'm also giving you the handout or the PDF for this, so you should be learning from that also. Now come to here. This is the function. We need to find out the delta x, uncertainty in x. How will we find out? We have to find out the expectation value of x, then we will square. So this will be the expectation value of x. Here it will be 1 because it is normalized wave function. We have already said that this is what normalized wave function. Otherwise, you have to do the normalization also. But we have taken the normalized one only. So just put the integration. It will end up this. Put this equals to t, right? So integration, mathematical calculation. Just put it here. You will be using these two formula. Learn it, and we find it. Delta x will become x naught. That we have already said. Right? So these are just mere calculation. Important calculations there. That's why I have given there. Now again, for the x square, you need to do the same thing, right? So if you put the values, you will get it equals to a by 2. And if you put similarly, this will be the probability function of the Gaussian function, right? Probability density function for the momentum itself, right? And if you compare with the Gaussian function for the position, you will find out delta px is equals to this one. See, here you have got delta x equals to what? A by 2. If the function was this. Now, if you compare this function with the momentum function itself, you will find out delta px equals to this one, h square 2. And if you multiply it, you will get this, right? Always remember this. This is very important. This point is very important, right? We said that it is equals to h cross by 2, right? It is minimum in case of Gaussian wave function, right? So by 2 will be there also. Yes. So it is minimum in case of Gaussian wave function only. Okay. Now, Fourier transform. So if you have two canonical conjugate we have already discussed, right? So we can do the Fourier transformation according to this formula, right? If fk is given, we can find out the fx. If fx is given, we can find out the fk, right? Provided fx is single valued and its integration exists, right? And Fourier transformation is basically used to show the matter waves, right? So this is our Gaussian wave function. This is given. So from fx, we will find fk, and then we will find the delta x into px concept, right? So we have done here also, and using Fourier, we will do here also, right? So two way I'm showing how you'll find out the minimum value of canonical conjugate in case of Gaussian wave function. So see here, we can use the separation of variable here, right? We can use the separation of variable here, and we'll find out the fx is given here, right? If you Fourier transform, you will get the fk, right? So fk will be something like this. Do the integration, you will end up getting this one, right? So if this is the case, right, and by just seeing this, let's say, understand one thing. First, understand we are given with the fx, and from here we have defined delta x is what? 0. Sorry, expectation value of x is 0, and the deviation was sigma, or delta x was sigma, right? So if we got this equation, right, this is what for the fk. So by comparing, we can find out the delta. If delta x is sigma, from here what? Delta p will be 1 by sigma. So if you put it here, so delta k will be 1 by sigma. Delta x is sigma and delta k is sigma, just by seeing the equation. So delta p is what? H plus by sigma. If you put delta k, x and delta k is equal to 1, right? This is what we need to find. If you put it here, you will get the same result. Understand, only the game here is of the Fourier transform, right? We have, this is given, we have written this thing, we have assumed this thing, right? And we have come to this one. This is the function for fk, and by comparing this, we can come to this one. Now these graphs are important. This is what delta x The more delta x is spread, the lesser will be delta k. Inverse that it means, canonical conjugate, that what it means. So if you have a pulse, delta x will be spread like this, delta k will be spread longer. If you have a wave group, that is delta x is spreading more, delta k will be spread less. If you have a wave train that is going on and on, if wavelength is corresponding to all the space, then delta k will have a single value, right? So these are the small things for the Gaussian wave function. Even for the Heisenberg principle, you can use these graphs, right? Just make a box and use any two of the graph, and you can enrich your answer. Okay. Now, next come to the postulates. Postulates of quantum mechanics. See, somewhere you will find 6 postulates, somewhere you will find 5 postulates, somewhere 8 postulates. Basically, these are certain rules, right, or assumptions that is required to develop the quantum mechanical system or the predict the quantum mechanical system, right? I have written or not? Yes. Describe the system and predict the system. These two main important function of this. So describing the system, what is having and what it can be, to predict the system. These two things are basically the main of quantum mechanics postulate. So 4 postulates are given here. 5th one is in the next one. So the first postulate is saying that the state of any physical system is specified by each time by a space state vector in a Hilbert space. So Hilbert space, I guess you know in your from your foundation course also, if you have joined a foundation course, or else you have done from anywhere or any book, you know about the Hilbert space, right? A space containing the space vector as well as the scalar also. But it will be defined by a state vector. That is important, right? We will use the bra and cat symbol for these things. And let me tell you that, have I written or not? Yes. So this is the state of any system at any time t, right? So it will contain all the information. It will having the all information, right? Let's say it is the Aadhaar card of the system, and let's say Aadhaar card contain all the information of a person that it must be. So let's say Aadhaar card contain your date of birth also. Aadhaar card contain your biometric also. So if you want to find the date of birth, what you will do? You will match date of birth with the Aadhaar card map. You will map biometric with the Aadhaar card. This is the same way we are doing. If you want to find the momentum, we will find the scalar product with momentum. We will get in the momentum space, or similarly with the position in the position space. One thing what you should know here, that the derivative will be also finite, continuous, and singular. We will come to this. We'll come to this. Don't worry. Next one is probability density of the state. So again, using the Born probability interpretation, we can say that, right? And it is proportional to the what? Square of the magnitude of the particle wave function. That is what we are always writing, psi x whole square. This will give the probability, and it is according to the Born's interpretation. Again, complete function, completeness property, right? It will be the superposition of the multiple states it will contain, right? And the probability will be what? Probability of each one. And if you join the probability of everyone, it will equals to 1. We know these things. Next one is observables and operations. It is very important. It differentiates between the classical and the quantum mechanics very precisely and very nicely. That if you want to calculate anything, if you want to measure anything, it will be having an operator associated with it. For example, if you want to find out the momentum, this operator you have to operate on the function. For kinetic energy, this will be the operator, right? For the energy, this is time dependent and this is time independent. You will see these in great detail. No need to worry. But important thing is here, whenever you are giving any operator, and these operators are basically Hermitian operators. Yes. linear Hermitian operator, right? So this is important. Next, to measure anything, dynamical variable, we need to apply the eigenvalue equation, this equation. And from here, you can say that this is basically the operator. This is basically eigenfunction, and this is basically eigenvalue. So something is written like this, right? If you start measuring the n, the state will change to psi n, right? So every measurement changes the system, right? Every measurement disturbs the system, right? If you are saying that this system is having certain value, and if you go and measure the value, so if I will go and measure the value, it will be different. Why? Because your measurement has changed the system, right? So if psi t will change to psi n just after measuring the a cap or a operator. A cap is basically a operator, right? Uncertainty in two quantities can be written as this. This is commutator property. We will see, right? Expression value already we have seen this. Next is probability of getting anything, right? So if psi is there and you want to specify a psi n is a particular state, so how much is the probability that this psi contains this psi n state, or this particle is in the psi n state, right? It can have a multiple state, right? But what is the probability of finding in that particular state? That is what we are finding here, right? So the act of measuring changes the system from psi to psi n. If the system is already in the eigenvalue psi n, right? What we have already said that. Next one, the conservation of probability, right? So this is what time dependent, and this is what time independent. This is basically probability. If you find out the scalar product of psi with psi, you will find a function, or we will find a value that is equals to 1 over the space if you're going to find it out, and it is independent of the time, right? So this is basically what certainty in getting the state in the wave function. Certainty means that the probability is equals to 1. I hope these things are clear, and we are doing a very quick and crisp revision of all the things. Time evolution of a system. The next postulate is time evolution of system. See, stationary state keeps on changing, but the timely evolution of any quantum mechanical system remains same, right? So to get complete spatial, we have to multiply this with the right. So again, psi x can be written as psi x into t, separation of variable, spatial coordinate, and temporal component. So if you put the values, what happen? Spatial component will get out here, and it cannot be equals to 0. So this will be equals to 0. We know that. So if you put it here, you will get this one. So this is the temporal component, and it comes from the postulate of the quantum mechanics itself, right? So I know these things, easily. Now come to the Schrodinger equation. Schrodinger equation does what the same Newton does for the classical mechanics, right? So they have given a dynamical variable equation, right? This is basically operator. If you operate on a function, you will get the value of that, right? So in one dimensional, again, put it here. Okay. So Hamiltonian operator we are talking about here. Now here, two things you need to understand, because in coming slides, we are going to study only the Schrodinger equation only, and we are going to find out the psi x eigenfunction only. We need to understand two things, two properties. That whatever the psi x we are finding out, it should be finite, it should be continuous, it should be single valued, and should be square integrable. These four conditions must be fulfilled to be called as a matter wave. If the answer with what we are getting, it's not fulfilling these conditions, then it will be not the answer. We have to modify that answer by superimposing, or by doing anything, right? But that will not the answer. Also, the derivative of that will be finite, should be single valued, and it should be continuous. Continuous have a case, right? Not always continuous is required, but in our syllabus it should be continuous, because the potential is either continuous or potential jump is finite. So whenever these two cases are fulfilled, it should be continuous. And this is the only case that we have to study in our course, right? So for us, it should be always continuous also, right? So you can study these lines, you can add in the conclusion also. Let's talk about the properties. Have I explained the unitarity? Yeah, let me first explain this. The Schrodinger equation have a property called unitarity, right? I have given here also. This Parseval-Planchel equation identity, right? Or sometimes Parseval's theory also it's called, right? Here it is x, here it is k. So unitarity of any Fourier transformation, or it is valid only also for the Heisenberg also, that the restriction on the allowed evolution of quantum mechanical system that ensured the sum of possible possibility is one, right? So any quantum mechanical system will be evolved in such a way that the probability is always equals to one in finding the particle all over the space, right? This is the one of the property of the Schrodinger equation. Right. Second one is the linearity. Again, the completeness function we have seen, the superposition of different quantum state will be there, right? Next one is separation of variable. Separation of variable is very useful, as we can what we can show that this timely evolution is doesn't depend upon this one. So we can separate it and find the solution separately. Also, we can separate this and find out separate solution differently. Also, have I written or not? Okay, it also helps us to reduce the partial differential equation to the ordinary differential equation, right? Also, separation variable is very helpful, as the whatever the potential we are getting is not time dependent, right? So that's why also it is very useful. Next one is change of basis. We can use any basis, any observable quantity will show the same result, right? It's a natural science, physics is natural science, and it doesn't depend upon the way of solving it, right? So whatever the mode you're taking out, solving for this, that all is equally correct, right? Now it is consistent with the local probability consideration, right? Probability current we will study later. Okay, so here some of the things you should study and try to quote in the conclusion also, right? It will give you a real life example problem that I have given, right? So Nobel Prize, see, we have given when they have given the equation, when they have published, right? And what the achievement. So one line, sometimes you might want to quote these things. That's why I'm given here. Also, it is very important to know if someone is getting Nobel Prize from that, then the topic become important, right? So that's why it is very important also, right? Now come to the free particle. So the next topic is the Schrodinger equation. So if you will see here, wave particle duality done, Schrodinger equation and expression value done, uncertainty principle done, solution to one dimensional for a free particle in a box, right? So we will be doing these things. Okay. So free particle is basically, it is not bounded by anything. It can have any kind of momentum, any kind of energy. It is not potentially bound to any system, right? So we can say that if you put the Schrodinger equation here, so the Vx is equals to 0. This is basically what we mean by free particle, not bounded by any system. So if you put in the differential equation format, you will find that psi is equals to a to the power minus kx plus b to the power minus simple solving of differential equation, right? I guess all of you know this thing. What is important here, you will get two wave. One wave is traveling in x direction, one wave traveling is minus x direction, right? So if we have solved this equation and we are getting these things, so what we can infer from this matter wave equation, wave function, I will show you right now that it is not the wave function that we needed. Why? Because it has well defined momentum energy. So if well defined momentum energy will be there, then what? the uncertainty in the x and time will be infinite, right? Also, the probability density is constant here. We know. Also, it is not squareable integrable that we have seen that, right? For it to be a square integrable, it has to be equals to finite. But if you when you do this, it is not equals to finite, right? So we'll discard this, right? We'll not discard the method, we'll not discard the equation, but we will discard only the solution because this is not the only solution, right? We are talking about only one case, but we have to take other case also, right? So that's why we will modify solution by superimposing plane wave, right? So linear superposition will be there, and if you do the linear superposition using the Fourier transformation, we will get something like this. This is the wave equation, the above one, right? The Gaussian wave function, and it will function as a wave packet. Here it is single wave, single monochromatic, right? Single monochromatic wave will not be there, right? We will have a wave packet here. That is important in the free particle, right? Also, when you increase the time, the wave spreads and move in increasing x direction, right? So this is the wave at time t. When time increases, what wave started to spread off, spreading. It is spreading, and also it is moving in positive x direction, right? That's why here the coordinate is something. Here the coordinate is more than that, and here the coordinate is more than that. That you need to keep in mind. One more thing. So we have studied the Schrodinger equation, we have studied the graph, we have studied the modification, we have studied these things. So let's come to the classical versus quantum. See, in each, whatever you are going to study from now, free particle, particle in box, finite, everything, harmonic oscillator, try to match or try to compare with the classical, right? So classically, what happened? The matter is localized in space. If a free particle, it will be localized. We can pinpoint, okay, it will be here, but it is represented by a wave packets. We cannot localize it, right? It will be a spread. Delta x will be given, right? So particular position increases with time. Here, position as well as spread increases with time, right? Not only the positions. Let's say delta x is also increasing and x is also increasing, right? But in classically only delta x is increasing. Delta x has no significance classically, right? It will have fixed kinetic energy and kinetic momentum, right? When no potential is given there, no one will hamper its kinetic energy or momentum, right? But here it is what polychromatic wave, so it will have the superposition of multiple frequency and energies, right? This thing you can write about free particle, right? Rest supplement with the Gaussian wave function. Gaussian wave function is also a free particle, right? So Gaussian wave function plus this completed this topic. Next topic is 1D Schrodinger equation of particle in a box, right? So what is a box? It is an infinite well or infinite square well, right? And basically a free particle to move in a small space surrounded by impenetrable barrier, right? So if I have created this barrier, so the particle cannot go beyond that, right? Because the potential is infinite, it cannot never cross, right? That's why we are stating that psi x is what? Zero for this reason and for this reason. Remaining for this reason, you can apply the equation, and if you apply the equation, you will get psi x equals to a sin kx plus b cos kx, right? You need to, okay, see this is asymmetric case. Asymmetric means this is x equals to 0, x equals to l. You will see the symmetric case also, then you will understand what is asymmetric and symmetric. So you need to understand it is always continuous. We have studied also. So when you put x equals to 0, psi x will be also 0. So x 0 and xl, both positions psi x will be 0, and if you put it, you'll find the value of k, and if you put the values, you'll find the en and psi x, right? So if you normalize and write it, psi x will be like this. This is the normalized eigenfunction, and it is the eigenvalue that you are getting, right? Okay. Now, simple. Just put the values, you will get this one. Now understand, E minimum is what? 0 point energy, and it is accordance with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? it is not zero. If you have a particle, as you talk about classically, if you put the particle in this box, it can have a zero energy. It will be at rest. But in quantum mechanical system, it will not be at rest. It will have some energy that is known as zero-point energy, and it is in accordance with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Right. One more thing, if you see this eigenvalue, it will having certain property. Number of node is what? N minus 1. Node means the amplitude is minimum. The amplitude is minimum, right? Again, we are taking only irrelativistic case. I have not written here because we have to take only the relativistic case. If you take the relativistic case, in relativistic case, we having no node. No node will be there, right? Node, let me show you. These are nodes. 1, 2 node, 1, 2, 3 nodes, right? One node, right? These points are node when the amplitude is minimum, right? Now, number of node will be n minus 1. See, if these are 2 points, these 2 boundary points are not included in the node. Understand? This is important to know. So in ground state, what? This is the wave function. You are having no node. I will show you again also. Non-degenerate, only one value, right? One state, one value, right? It will not having, it will have a degeneracy over here. Discrete, not continuous, right? Particle can have a continuous value, but it will be discrete, right? It will be quantized. That is, it will having a quantized, that is, it is proportional to n square, right? It is not continuous that any number of can be happen. No, right? It will have a certain kind of energy only, right? Energy gap increases with n, right? Not only the energy. If you n square, energy gap is also increasing, right? So let me show you these things, right? So let me first explain you these things. Then, so let's say this is the eigenvalue that we have written, n equals to 1, 2, 3, and 4. So energy gap is what? 3 E1, 5 E1, 7 E1. So energy is also increasing and the gap is also increasing. If you draw the eigenfunction here, it's something like this. So here we are having no node, here we are having one node, here we are having two nodes, and here we are having three nodes, right? So this is important to take it. Again, if you draw the probability function, right? What you need to do for the probability, just take the mirror image for this. It cannot be negative, right? So take the negative part upward. So it is what? The probability function. Try to draw these things in your examination. Okay. Now let's take the symmetry case. Symmetry case when it is minus L by 2 to L by 2, right? We have just shifted the reference frame. We just shifted it from 0 to minus L by 2. Reference frame we have shifted. So shift in reference frame, Hamiltonian will not change. So it will have the same eigenvalue, but eigenfunction will change because where it was x, it will be having x equals to L by 2, right? Because previously where x was 0, now we are having x power minus L by 2. So x will be shifted from x plus L by 2. And it gives us a very beautiful thing that if you put in the above equation, it will sign n pi, instead of x, you have to write x plus L, and it will give two functions. When n equals to 135, cos, when n equals to 246, it will give even, right? So it is giving that some of the parity function also, right? So what is giving that? The wave function must have a definite parity, right? These are the applications. So it can be either odd or even, not both at the same time, right? So it is related to this function. Also, it is used in laser diode, it is used in quantum dots, right? So you can study these things and you should, like, quantum dots is very important, right? Whenever question come from this, you should code this one. Okay. Now here is the expectation value we have calculated of delta x, right? Delta x square, from where we are finding delta x. And if you put these values, we'll find out for the minimum n equals to 1, delta x into px is greater than h cross by 2. That is certainly following the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? So already it become a very long video, so we will take a break from here right? So the remaining topic will be covered in the next video. Thank you so much. And you will get the PDF also on your dashboard. Thank you and bye-bye.